let's go ahead and run through 8 on a hand. And I'm going to give you taps at the beginning to kind of signal what tempo we're going to be at, and then I'll jump into the warm-up for you. And again, it's fairly simple. It's 8 on a hand twice. Okay. So some things that you'll notice with my technique is that you don't play from the elbow. My instructor in high school and college both called this the monkey with the cymbals kind of grip or technique. It just doesn't look good. When it comes to marching bands, you want a very uniform technique that rotates from the wrist. It's like you have a pin through here and you're pivoting directly up and down. So again, we'll go ahead and run through it. Another thing that you would notice, or may not, that I should probably explain, is that when it comes to snare drum technique, there are two schools of thought when it comes to percussion. Let me explain it this way. You can either, what we call stick it to the head, which is where you hold the drumstick down, not on the head, but about an inch away from the head, or you can upstroke, where you pull off. When it comes to snare drum, we downstroke. We do not upstroke, we downstroke. There are a couple reasons for this that I'm not going to get into, but you mainly need to know that we downstroke on snare drum. So you need to concentrate on when you come down with the stick, let it bounce, but control your bounce and hold the stick about an inch away from the head. So, when I run through it this time, I'm going to go ahead and give you taps in between, and I'm going to go ahead and speed it up for you. I'll say 3 times. So we'll run through this 3 times, and I'll show you what the speed up looks like. Cool. So that's the basics of 8 on a hand for matched grip. Traditional grip really is the same thing, except for you've got this weird left hand thing going on. So if you're going to get into traditional grip, the basics really are, think about how you would grab a doorknob and turn it with your left hand. It's the same concept. It's a flick of the wrist. Think Wingardium Leviosa. Harry Potter freaks, that one's for you. So, basically you're turning a doorknob, but you've now inserted a drumstick. Quite simple. It rests on top of your ring finger, and then your middle finger wraps around, your pointer finger wraps around, and your thumb rests right on top of your pointer finger. So from the front, a curved grip looks like this. From the top, a curved grip looks like this. Fairly simple. It does take a lot of practice. It's very uncomfortable. You'll develop blisters on your ring finger, on the bottom side of your pointer finger, and sometimes in the crook between your thumb and your pointer finger. They heal, they form calluses. It's not fun at the start of things, but once they heal up, it's not too bad. It's just something as a percussionist that you get used to. I've seen people use Band-Aids, moleskin to kind of help protect their hands, but everybody ends up with blisters in the end. So anyways, same concept. I'm going to go ahead and give you taps to signal the start of the warm-up, and then we're going to run through it once. I'll kind of talk to you a little bit more, and then we'll run through it 3 more times just so you kind of get the feel of things. So Sorry for the extra tap there. So yeah, that's basically it. Again, you want to concentrate on downstroke, not upstroke. It just looks weird. Downstroke, good. Upstroke, bad. Downstroke is good. So now I'm going to go ahead and run through this warm-up 3 more times with you. But before I do so, I'm going to go ahead and switch on my snare, remove my billfold at the risk of my own ears, and I'm also going to go ahead and tilt my snare drum, because I've got one of those cool rocking snare drum stands, so I can lean it to the left or lean it to the right or whatever I'm feeling like. There we go. So this is what a snare drum would have looked like back in the day when they had that strap that went across your body. It was tilted like this. It's higher on the left, lower on the right. And if you can imagine, the strap kind of clicks in what would be over here. And it leans across the left side of your body. So to compensate for that angle, they had to lift this, because had they not, you would have been like this, and it's very awkward to play in. And while I'm an awkward guy, it's not fun. This is much more comfortable. So this is how they compensated. So I'm standing a little bit to the right-hand side of the drum. With modern marching snare drum harnesses, carriers, whatever you want to call them, you're directly behind the drum, and there really is not necessarily a reason to play traditional, but it is, again, traditional. So, not recommended, traditional. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. It's up to you. You can get marching harnesses or your angle set to where it's flat, or you can play tilted. We played tilted in high school, and in college. So if you're going to play tilted, you need to play traditional. If you're going to play flat, you need to play matched. Don't let anybody catch you doing this on a concert snare drum. You might catch flack for it. You probably will catch flack for it. So, to run through the warm-up, we're going to do this 3 times. And now that I'm thinking back, I went through it with the snare off for the matched grip. So let's go ahead and turn the snare off for the first run through on traditional, and then I'll go ahead and turn it on so you can hear what it sounds like. I'm not going to do it twice because I don't want to make the neighbors in my apartment upset. But to go ahead and get started, 8 on a hand, I'm going to give you taps. Pretty simple. So now I'm going to add the taps in between. We'll do it 3 times, and I've gone ahead and turned the snare on this drum on. Proper orientation for the drum, I was going to correct myself on this earlier. You want the clutch or the switch on the snare just to the left-hand side of you. And the logo on the head should be facing towards you. It shouldn't be on the opposite side of the drum, because if it is, you'll wear it off. So, clutch is over here, snare bed runs this way at a 45-degree angle to my body. That's proper orientation. And look, you can see the logo on the drum. Woohoo! Alrighty, so I'm going to give you taps to start, and then we'll run through it 3 times. And I'll go ahead and speed it up for you gradually in between. Good. And yeah, that really is all that you need to know when it comes to snare drum basics for 8 on a hand. There's much more that goes into percussion, but for this warm-up in both styles, matched and traditional grip, that really is all you need to know. So again, I recommend starting the exercise on a pillow. Right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand. It's good to alternate. And that's why we do so in this exercise. Start slow, speed it up, and then when you move to the snare drum, if you're in a confined space, it's always good to set something to dampen the head, on the head, like your billfold, your wallet. At least that's what I was taught. Schools of thought differ. And then if you're in an open space, say you're out in the field with the drum, or you're in a larger kind of concert hall scenario where there isn't a lot of after ring, you can remove the billfold, and so you can actually hear the difference, or not so you can hear the difference. So you don't have to deal with that dampened kind of sound, and you can hear the difference between the two, especially when you're right behind the drum. It's like the difference between, like shooting with and without ear protection. So, those are the basics of 8 on a hand for traditional and matched grip. Again, you want to stay in neutral, stay relaxed, stay calm, work it up on a pillow, kind of build up your muscles, and then when you have the opportunity to rehearse on a snare drum, go ahead and do so. Dampen it with a billfold if you're in a confined space, and basically in summation, don't play traditional grip on a concert snare drum if it's flat. Make sure you protect your ears. Ear protection is good. Earplugs, ear muffs, something. Get used to blisters. Find the sweet spot on the drumstick. Oh, don't play in the center of the snare drum. You want to play directly, well, not directly, I guess, just off center. So I'd say about like 1.5 inches, 2 inches the opposite side of the center away from you. And you want to play directly over the snare bed for us newbies out there. So those are kind of the basics. I could go on for days and get into real specifics, but for another time. I really hope you enjoyed the video on 8 on a hand and kind of what I had to say about traditional grip, matched grip, and some various playing techniques, and what this warm-up can do not only for your chops, but for your warm-up arsenal, repertory, blah, blah, blah. So, again, I'm Tuck S. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.